Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us for our Taproom Success Event Planning Workshop. As all of you know, event planning is a very, very important part of the Taproom experience these days. And while people are joining in, if you could drop in the chat the name of your brewery and where you are located. I recognize a lot of names out there, so thank you all for joining. But if you could, in the chat, put your name and where you're located. And one last thing while we're getting started, hit that mute button on your audio just in case a train comes by or something loud happens in the background. I promise there'll be plenty of time to unmute later in this one. We're going to call on you to kind of learn some insight from the community here today. But we appreciate you being here. And now we're going to tell you a little bit about why Carrie and I are doing this today. So, once again, my name is Andrew Copeland. I live in Norfolk, Virginia. It's a beautiful city here on the East Coast, born and raised. I'm the founder of Craft Beer Professionals. I recognize many of your names from Craft Beer Professionals, actually. We started as a Facebook community where I was the only person. We've grown it to nearly 18,000 people, and we do education both virtually and in person. And I also run Secret Hopper. Secret Hopper is a mystery shopping company for tap rooms. I'm lucky enough to talk to tap room owners, managers all across the country and learn and share lots of neat data-backed insight that we have. And today I'm joined by my partner in crime, Carrie Shumway. Carrie, how are you today?
I'm doing wonderful. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. So, my background is I'm a CPA, former CFO for a brewery and a beer wholesaler, and I've been in the beer industry for about 25 years or so. I love numbers, I love beer. Somehow I found a way to combine my two loves, and this is what I do now. I teach, finance to taproom owners and managers and breweries and try to help, people create a financially successful business. And obviously, Andrew and I have combined our forces to kind of bring those together. Andrew has, so much data and, strategies and actionable items, to help you improve sales and profitability. And I have lots of tools to hopefully help you kind of manage that and improve that. We talk a lot about, and I'll just say it now because I know Andrew's going to say we can't go a workshop or a webinar without using the words key metrics or KPIs, loving those simple ways to kind of track progress. And, we're talking about event planning today. So, one of the things that I'd like to plant in everybody's head is, how do you measure success of your events? Because when I've talked to tap promoters and managers, sometimes it's like, well, people loved it. We had a lot of people here. Well, okay, did you make any money? What did it do to sales? What was so really looking at those measurements. So happy to be here. Happy you guys are here. Thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, and a little bit more about Taproom Success because Taproom Success is our initiative together. And actually, just a couple weeks ago, Carrie and I were in Wilmington, North Carolina. Ashley, we saw a bit of the Salty Turtle crew there at the North Carolina Brewers Guild Brew Smart. And while Carrie and I were there, we had the opportunity to visit the Museum of the Bazaar. And for only $3, this picture alone was worth the visit. But with Taproom Success, what we do, we have hours upon hours of pre-recorded content. We have content spanning the hospitality side, the staff training side, Carrie's financial side, that you can dive into that at any point. Once a month, we have a monthly mastermind. What that consists of, taproom owners and managers from all across the country. We come together just like this for a conversation on Zoom where we're sharing, what's working, what's not working. We're sharing great ideas. We're asking questions. It's very, very interactive. Everyone always walks away with unique takeaways. But also, once a month, we're going to bring in an industry tech expert for the topics that matter most to you. And we've talked about adding food to tap rooms. We've talked about events before. We've talked about technologies. We've talked about menu engineering, which is one of Carrie's favorite topics. But the goal is to find what's most for you. And unlike a lot of sessions where you're watching a screen for an hour, these are very, very interactive. And speaking of interactive, we are very, very curious. You all showed up. You're here live. If you could tell us what brought you here today. And is there anybody who would want to unmute and share with us? Feel free to raise your hand, just unmute. We'd love to hear why you wanted to show up today for this event planning workshop. We might call on somebody. And I want to see that chat active because all of you, obviously, you're engaged in the tap room in some way and you understand the important role that events play. And I would imagine you want to make more successful events. You want to get your guests spending more money. You want to find a way to get those guests coming back. I imagine those are a lot of things going through your head right now.
All
And
right,
so
Ashley, I'm going to have to do it. Ashley, you have to tell us. Your time is valuable. We value that you're here. What is like one thing you're hoping to get from today? It can be general, it can be specific. What brought you here today? Uh-oh, get over to you.
Hi there. My name's Pam. I'm in Alberta, Canada. And first off, curiosity. Secondly, there's always room for improvement, and one doesn't always have all the ideas. So that's why myself and my taproom manager are listening in today.
Great.
Pam, we hope you leave and your taproom manager leave with at least one idea you can take back to your taproom and try. Just that one great thing you can take away. Now, Ashley, how about
Good.
you?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out some more events that we can do. We just partnered with the fire department, local fire department, and did a chili cook-off, but just trying to find some unique events to host at the tap room that don't overwhelm it as well. Finding that balance.
Yeah, that's a great point there. I mean, there's so many different types of events. There's recurring events, there's one-off events, there's public events, there's private events. How do you balance that all at once? Does anybody else have a reason for being here they'd like to share? Joel, I like yours in the chat. Trying to figure out what the hell people want these days. That's what it's all about. And
I want to echo something Ashley just said was so one of the things that we have and what I rewatched in preparation for this was one of our past monthly experts was Megan McLean from Artifact Cider. I thought she did just an amazing job of sort of talking about not just specific events you can do, but more overall strategy. And one of her sort of best practices, if you'll take it away, and you know what Ashley was saying is really kind of trying to do having two goals when you're setting up your programming. And one is to have it be as relatively low overhead as you can as and as light a lift as possible for your staff. So you're really leveraging. And sometimes that means, yeah, we might bring in third parties to help us, you know, run certain events. But I like the simplicity of that, trying to think about what's low overhead, what's light lift for our staff, and that high leverage.
Nikki, I see your comment about being an event coordinator for weddings and now in charge at breweries. I imagine you might get lucky enough to do some weddings at breweries as well. So I'm sure your background is going to be really helpful in your new position. So, as we're talking about events, I want to share a quick story of why I love events personally. It's not just about the beer anymore. I love going to the brewery, having a nice cold lager, something delicious, something that, I'm really craving. But unfortunately, that's not always going to drag my wife out of the house, and it might not probably take my 5-year-old out with me. So I absolutely love it when there's a reason for others to join me when I go to a brewery experience. And we had one of these instances, it was probably last summer. There's a brewery near me in Norfolk, Virginia. They were having a Disney Princess Day. And even though I can't see some of you on camera, I see your eyes rolling right now. Yeah, it's crazy. This is where we are right now. You have to embrace it if that's what you want to do. And if you don't want to embrace it, that's fine too. You just have to find other things. So, this super family friendly brewery near me was having a Disney Princess Day. And instead of me saying to my family, hey, let's go, they told me, we're going to hop on a bike, we're going to go to this brewery. And I didn't have a choice. And I'm just nodding my head because that's a fantastic idea to do on a beautiful Sunday afternoon. So we get there, and the beer's great. We go to the beautiful patio. It's a sunshiny day. There are literally Disney princesses blowing up balloons. They're doing face paint. I don't know how I was able to not a breakdown when the Disney princesses literally got on stage and started singing a song from Frozen. Personally, that was a little too much for me. But the point is, it pleased all of us. I got to go. I got to have 3 beers that day, I think. My wife was having a good time because she was out with the family. My little one was having the most fun of all of us because there was tons of kids running around playing, and we each had a reason to stay there. It was an event that I would consider a huge success because it appealed to everybody in our party, which resulted us in spending more money. And everyone in my family knows that's a brewery we can go to because there's going to be something to please all of us. So our friend Michael Varda of Craft Beer Advisory Services, he lists brewery events as the #1 motivator of getting people back to your tap room. So events are super vital in the state of things. And Roy, I love your comment. The weirder, the better. No, just don't take it too far. But I love that comment there. Roy, you got something to add?
So, hi. So we have a lot of like monthly standing events, which are great because there are a lot of DIY stuff and they're very self-manageable. So these people come in and I just give them the space and they set it up themselves. I love that. But as far as for events that are specifically hosted by our tap room, and it's a lot about location too. We're in a very like quirky, weird tourist city. So a lot Salem, Massachusetts. So a lot of people are very attracted to like off the beat, like weird stuff. So it kind of works for us that way, but eventually you kind of, you know, you'll have like a bunch of successful events in a row and then you just bomb sometimes.
But you got to learn from those failures. You got to take notes, see how you can improve in the future. And Roy, while we got you, I got to hear the weirdest event that you've done in Salem.
Oh, Um, I think one of my favorite events I've ever done was a 90s retro gaming night where I hired a world-class, they're called speedrunners, if anybody's a gamer, and who has like mastered beating whatever Zelda game in like 60 minutes or less and stuff, and he did it in front of the whole tap room. And it brought out so many people who would not normally have come to the tap room. And that's why these weird, quirky events are important too, is because so you can attract a lot of people who would not normally come to the tap room. But they're like, okay, like I'm a gamer. I want to see this world-class speedrunner that they all knew the name of, So that was really cool.
No, congrats on that event. Really good job there. Does
Thank you.
anybody else have what you would say a really weird event while we're going down that rabbit hole real quick that you'd like to share?
Yeah. Um, it was something that was planned by my previous event manager. It was the 25th anniversary of Shrek 2, or 20th anniversary, one of them. And so it was a Shrek night, and people came in costumes and they did music bingo with some of the songs from there. There was some Shrek themed stuff. I personally was kind of like, okay, we can give it a shot. And it turned out, it turned out well. It was a good turnout. People really enjoyed it. Really, it brought in um, a lot of like the millennial crowd and the Gen Z crowd, because that's right in their wheelhouse. Because Gen Z's 12 to 27, so a lot of them saw that movie when they were 7, and they came in and got to drink a beer while celebrating this kid movie. So we also tried it with Joe Dirt. That one didn't go so well. So pick and choose.
I love that you tried. I'm loving the comments right now too. Jim, good luck on your wrestling night tonight. If I'm not mistaken, I've seen you post on social media about that before. So good luck with that. Taylor, we've got SpongeBob Rave. I definitely want to hear how that goes for you. There's another brewery here in Virginia where I'm at, Studley Brewing. They're a baseball themed brewery, but their audience is literally millennial families. So they did a night called Club Stud, where it literally kind of went back to the 90s and they had like a 1990s, early 2000s dance party. I think they said it was their busiest event ever. And they stayed after hours. So like 10 p.m. to 1 in the morning. So they never stay up open that late. But it was a huge success for them. So you definitely got to think outside the box. And everybody, I dropped it in the chat, but there's a link to 1 month free of the Taproom Success membership. We'd love to have you all join. It's 100% free. Click the link, click it after this. Just make sure you save it. But we appreciate you being here today. And now Carrie's going to tell you a little bit more about what we're going to dive into in the next little while.
Yeah, so I'll go through these deep. These are the goals, but I want to set the expectations for everybody. What we're going to do in just a little bit is create some breakout rooms. And if anyone has not been in a workshop like this via Zoom, a breakout room is really a way to take how many people we have on? We have about 25 people and break into probably 5 or 6 rooms. Okay. So we're going to put you in those rooms with 2 or 3 other people. And the goals are going to be just meet somebody new, because this is such an awesome business we're in. This is a great way to kind of network. We go to these in-person events and you always meet somebody new. try to bring that online. So that's one, just meet somebody new, introduce yourself. Hi, I'm Roy. Hi, I'm Ashley. And then two, try to take one goal, one action item, like one cool, we've already seen like a bunch of cool ideas. I mean, wrestling, I got to know more about that too. But, and the not so newlyweds game, I think that's really funny. We've heard like speed dating and things. There's just so many cool things. So within that breakout room, get to know each other, maybe share one cool event that's worked for you, and maybe you'll learn one or two or three things. Because that's what Andrew and I are really here for, is to say, like, we really want you to have actionable takeaways you can implement right away and make a difference and meet a new friend. So we're going to kind of talk through these things, like identify events that align best with what your taproom's vibe is, right? That's the authenticity that we do. So we have so many options. Learning from peers, that's what the breakout rooms and really the chat is all about. And yeah, if you can't participate via the chat, not a problem. Understood. Um, Identifying key success factors, like I said earlier, like how do you define success? A lot of what we talk about is begin with the end in mind. What's the goal of a particular event? Is it to Jim was saying in the chat, like bring people in that wouldn't otherwise come in, new customers, or is it, really have those big ticket events, or is it it could be any number of things. But what are the success factors? First, we have to kind of define them so that we can then measure against them. Did we achieve it? And then obviously taking action. We want those actionable strategies, hopefully some fresh ideas. What I find is just in doing this process, in talking to you guys, listening, sharing ideas, you just sort of get a little bit excited, or hopefully a lot. And that's something you can then, carry back to your tap room.
So now we want to give you something you can take back to your tap room from the start. So a couple years ago, I discovered the Workshopper Playbook. You should Google that later. It's probably 40 pages. It's a great read. It really kind of walks you through a process, how to brainstorm an idea. And what you're looking right here is an axis. On the horizontal axis, it says effort. Effort means, how much effort, for example, for planning an event, is it going to take to do it? Is it something that's very, very little work towards the left-hand side, or is it going to take a ton of work towards the right-hand side of the axis? Impact stands for how much impact it's going to have in your tap room. That goes by a different metric, but let's talk about finances right now and profits. So if impact's going to be just going to be a little bit of profit, is it only going to bring in a few extra dollars, or is it going to be type of an event that has a huge financial impact on your tap room? So if you're looking at the bottom left quadrant, something in there might be like a trivia night, for example. You call up your trivia host, they show up, it's easy, and makes you a little bit of money. Now look at the top right quadrant. Something like that could be planning your anniversary party. It's going to take a lot of work, but you're going to have the busiest day of your year. And it, could be really, really worth the effort you put in. Now look at the top left quadrant. Those are the things that aren't taking much work, but the reward is great. So they're really worthwhile to do. And look at the bottom right quadrant. Those are the things that are going to take a lot of work, but you might have to ask yourself, are they really worth all that work? Now, Carrie, can you kind of walk us through when you decide to do what ideas?
Yeah. So basically we love these grids, right? These decision models. And this one is just nice and simple, but it's not, simplistic. It's basically like you take all your ideas, you put them on this grid, you try to figure out, what's going to have the biggest impact, what's going to have the lowest effort, and try to find, that sweet spot. So where is the do it now? So if we look to the upper left-hand quadrant, that's an example of relatively low effort, relatively high impact. So when we were talking earlier about, what's a light lift for your staff, what's something you can leverage, say, an outside company to do, and hopefully see some kind of strong result from it. That's the quadrant we want to put it in. If it's something that goes into boy, that's a lot of effort, the impact is kind of negligible, I'm not sure it's going to be worth it, forget it for now. So we just kind of simply say, high impact, low effort. Let's do that. Let's try it. And someone was saying earlier, not everything's going to work. And that's the beauty of, experimentation. You want to try things. But the takeaway really is one of the best practices, try new things, evaluate what's working, define how it's going to working based on what your, measurement for success is, and then be consistent going forward. People need that consistent. We can't be like once in a while, right? That's why we talk a lot about, an event program, not just events, but a program. So a strategy behind it. But this workshopper approach, I don't know if Andrew, if you have or want to throw in the chat, like people can download this workbook. It's a whole framework, if you will, in terms of how do you gather this information. Like, what are all these ideas? We've just seen, maybe a dozen ideas fly by on the screen. And then maybe you engage your staff to try to figure out, what are some ideas that they might have. And then you use this type of a grid to really as a filtering mechanism to say, that's actually a great idea. I think it's high impact, low effort. Let's give that a crack. Or, well, maybe it's high impact, but it's also high effort. Let's put that on the list for make that a project. Maybe we try that down the road, but not now. So we love these decision-making models. They just kind of simplify things. And then through the lens of event planning, this might be a useful tool to help you kind of decide what to work on now.
And this is a great team activity too. At your next team meeting, you can bring everybody together, give them little post-its and have them write down as many ideas for events as they can possibly think of. Then throw all those on a wall and have everybody vote on their top 10 events and then put them on this impact effort axis. It really can give your team ownership over the events that you may be adding to your taproom schedule. And in just a minute, we're going to go into breakout rooms, as Carrie explained. And one reason I love things like this, I love talking to people outside of my area. If you just talk to your neighboring taproom managers and owners, you're probably not going to share your deepest, darkest, best kept secrets. But when you're talking to people all across the country, you're going to be a little more open to share ideas, share more personal things. There's much more transparency there. So I think there's a lot of value in simply just bringing everybody together. So I really hope you enjoy the next few minutes you have in your breakout rooms. And when you're in your breakout room, we want you to introduce yourself. Tell them where you're from, tell them the size of your brewery, tell them the size of your tap room, tell them where you're located. Give people a little background on your brewery and tap room for context. Then we want each of you in that breakout room to share a successful event your tap room has hosted. Try to keep these away from the boring ones, the trivias, the markets, the things that everybody is doing. Give us something unique because you want the others in your breakout group to also give you something unique that you can potentially take back to your tap room. But also, we want to try to have at least one person in the group record key takeaways, really neat things that other people in your room said, or something you want to take back to all of us in this session to share. And after we have the breakout room, we're going to come back together. And we'd love for that one representative from the group to kind of share with the whole of us, what you learned, what that key takeaway is, any unique thoughts that were shared within your breakout room. Now, at this point in time, Carrie's going to use his magic wand to put us into those breakout rooms. And Carrie and I are going to pop in. We're just going to see how the conversation's going and we're going to listen. But ready, Carrie?
Okay. If anyone has not done this before, you're going to be amazed. Or maybe not. I don't know. All right. So we're going to create 4 rooms. So you'll have, 2 or 3 buddies. So as Andrew said, hi, my name's Ashley. Hi, I'm Roy. Share one cool idea. I'm going to send you in for about 10 minutes or so. Andrew and I'll pop in and we will see you after that. Here you go. And Jim literally has a wrestling, what am I thinking of? It's the place where they
Ring.
win. A ring.
A ring.
He literally behind it has a. Have you been to this place? Do you know of
No,
this?
I've seen it on the computer before. He's in Savannah River Brewing is what his brewery is.
This is amazing. Amazing. I don't think I would do it, but it's still, I would want to see that. It's almost like going, your first time you go axe throwing. You're like, all right, I gotta see what this is about.
Yeah, you got to do those weird, quirky little things.
Yeah. And you're into that, Andrew. You need to try something new.
I went to a brewery, Carrie, that had like medieval fighting live. It was like the perfect thing to do on a random Sunday afternoon. Do I normally want to see people jousting in massive weapons and suits of armor? No, not so much. But with a beer or two in hand, it was a really fun event.
I would love to see that. I don't know that I'd want to watch that all day, but
It was a one-time thing for me, but I enjoyed that one time a lot. It was a reason to go out, and I go back to that brewery. I'm actually going to that brewery literally when we hang up this call, so it's a win.
Okay.
And I'm telling the truth, I promise you.
I believe it. All
Yeah.
right, Andrew, I think everybody's back.
Cool, everybody. We hope you had a lot of great conversation in your breakout room there. I know when I popped in rooms 1 and 2, you all were sharing tons of really fun things. And we want to hear about it. That's why we're here, We want you to have that inspiration from your peers. So we'd love to hear what stood out. We want to hear your takeaways from your room. So we're going to start with room 1. And unless someone unmutes, I've got a name I'm going to call on. So does anybody from breakout room 1 want to share something that stood out to you when you were chatting with others?
And they might not know their number, so you might need to call a couple names.
Oh, this is the room with Joel, Kim. We had Diane and Pam in there. I think I'm missing somebody, so I apologize. Diane, how about you up in New Jersey? I'd love to hear what you took away from that time with your peers. Can you unmute yourself if you're still here? Okay, let's try again. How about Pam? Oh, there you are, Diane.
Sorry, my
You're good.
screen went blank. I feel like in New Jersey, we're kind of like strapped with things that we can and can't do. So a lot of the events sound really great with the food and the dinners and things like that. It's just not something that we here can do. Um, I shared the idea that we have 3 breweries and we do like we call it the Brewmaster Bar Crawl and walk between the 3 of them. We get 40 people to start at each brewery and do a walking tour with the brewmaster. So brings 120 people into our spaces and each of us. So it's great like that. We use a theme every time. This one's going to be Saturday, is going to be St. Patrick's Day. So that's kind of a fun thing that we do here
That's amazing. So it's a bar crawl with the brewmaster.
with the brewmaster. Yep.
Oh,
Very good.
I love that. I would recommend it. I mean, I don't think it necessarily has to be a one brewery thing. If you have a cluster of breweries in the area, you could do it with 4 different breweries and have a different
Right.
brewmaster tag in at each location. That'd be a fun way to kind of involve the whole community.
The
We
whole
do that
community. Yeah.
every Christmas as well. We do a Santa crawl, and so it's like
We
a
do too.
1.5 mile crawl, and then we hit up 4 breweries, and we get beforehand try to get all the breweries to commit to a certain special just for the crawlers, and try to book live music or something like that, so it's entertaining for everyone the whole way. And then obviously we save all the coolest stuff for my brewery since I'm organizing it, which is the last stop. And then we do like half off shots and we do a costume contest and live jazz, Christmas jazz and stuff like that. And, and then keep it open like an extra 3 hours so everybody's like partying till like 1 a.m.
Stephen, do you find that people who come one year are coming back the next year for that?
Yeah, absolutely. The key is to just really get all the breweries to cross promote it on all their social media channels at least 2 weeks ahead of time. Make the flyer really sexy. Like most of my event flyers, like I kind of do myself, like Canva or something. It looks okay, but not amazing. But these are the ones I'll go on like Fiverr and pay somebody $20 to make it look really nice because you really want to get like 30 or 40 people show up instead of 10.
No, that's an awesome idea right there. Does anybody else, maybe Pam, do you have any takeaways you'd like to share from group 1 before we go to 2 real quick? And you're on mute. But I know it's a great idea.
The one idea that came out, a couple that I felt would work for us in Alberta is one, the wild game pairing with a guest chef. I thought that, we've done some of those things, but never with wild game. And so I know we have an elk farm and we have bison and, where we're located, the Rocky Mountains, you can see in the foreground. So I think that's a really cool idea. And then I really liked, I can't remember if it was Carly or Diane, but your Saturday sours and your dark days in the winter. I think those were really cool twists. For us, again, because we're touristy, our live music Saturdays, afternoons are huge. People bring their lawn chairs, there's no cover. And yeah, we can have a good 1,000 people come through in a
Wow.
day. We're also part of Harvest Hosts. I didn't mention that. And we allow someone, RVers to just 2 spots we have that they can park it overnight, and they don't pay for the parking, but in turn they come and they, eat your food and drink your beer. And so that's a real cool way of getting kind of organic word of mouth growth through that community. And most of them are American tourists, or even Germans and Swedes and Austrians, people that actually fly over here and rent an RV. So it's pretty cool way to meet people from all over the world. It doesn't cost you anything to be a part of it. So if that's something any of you are able to do, I would say reach out to Harvest Host and become a host.
That's really interesting stuff there, Pam. I know we talk about sometimes breweries don't have food. So wearing my Crappy Professionals hat, we're hosting a workshop in Charlotte this June, and one of the days for lunch, we're going to be literally doing a beer pairing with the brewery Triple C's beer with Bojangles, who's going to be catering the lunch. So maybe you've got a Bojangles around the corner from your brewery. Tell everybody to come pick up their food and do some sort of unique beer pairing with maybe something from your neighbors. But would love to move on to group number 2. And Abby, are you still here? You had some great insight in that conversation. Do you want to share any takeaways that you had? I'm going to double check that you're here.
Abby's here. Yep.
There we go.
She's got some
Hi.
flowers
Flowers in
behind
the
her.
background.
What? Oh yeah, yes. Beautiful hydrangeas from Ireland. Yeah, so in our group, we just chatted about some of like weekly programming and also just the benefits of when you're able to have more offerings available in a tap room. So for instance, we have cider, other people are able to serve, like beer and liquor and how to activate around that. We chatted about like craft nights going on. And then, within our own tap room, we do weekly bingo, which I've seen kind of become almost like a standard within the industry. We also have like a monthly drag show. And unfortunately in Massachusetts, but for other people being able to like we can't discount and we can't give away things for free, but others talked about birthday beers or like giving people, a free shot and just that value of, giving a free product to help retain people within the tap room.
So thanks for sharing all that, Abby. Steven, how about you? Any takeaways from talking with your group?
I found everyone's input really interesting. I like there's some really cool ideas. I think one thing we kind of dialed in on was like the importance of food. I think one thing that I've learned in my experience, they're like the most important thing, like from an overarching perspective, is to like not be afraid to think outside the box and do something crazy, and B, if it's a regular thing, give it 6 months to build up, and C, if it fails, don't be afraid to admit failure and move on to something else, which is probably what I'm going to do with my Wednesday game night because it just doesn't seem to be a huge draw like the Jackbox thing. But yeah, everybody's insight was really fascinating. I wrote down a few things that I'm going to try to steal from you guys since you're not in my market.
Love it.
That's awesome. So group 3, Roy, do you want to kind of summarize what you learned or some cool ideas?
I actually had to leave for a few minutes in my group, and then I got rejoined into group 2 because my audio messed up. But it kind of seemed like everybody in my group had some really cool things going on in their tap rooms on a regular basis. Yeah, I was just saying how like standing events are super important because it's something that people rely on, which is nice because it not only draws in regulars, but like the one-off events bring in, people who are maybe just being introduced to your tap room for the first time and they're like, oh, this place is cool. So forgive me that I had to leave early. I might not be the best representative for my room.
Oh, you did just fine.
Roy, is that a skeleton behind you?
It's like a tree skeleton man or woman. I'm not sure.
Cool.
Can't really tell, but yeah, we kept it up after Halloween.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
When I jumped
like up to our roof.
when I jumped into your room quickly there, Roy, it was Taylor, who I think dropped off, but she was talking about, if I'm not mistaken, Dogtoberfest.
Oh
So
yeah,
instead of Oktoberfest, it's a Dogtoberfest with a dog theme, and they had dog beers and
yes.
everything, which I thought was kind of
We
interesting.
do a dog adoption event every couple months, and it's standing room only. the dog people come out. I can't say how profitable it is or how much they actually buy, especially because they start like early in the morning and people like line up to see, you know, what dogs are available because we have about 30 dogs in here all available for adoption, but it really brings the exposure is great. Dog, any animal events.
That's awesome. And Nikki, did you have anything else that you learned or shared that you thought would be cool to share with the group here?
Oh, is my audio working
You're
now?
Sounds
good,
good.
Nikki.
Yep.
Is it? That's right. Yay, I found the right button. Um, yeah, the Dogtoberfest was super fun to hear about in my room. Then we also talked like comedy nights, and that's something that here at Pantone we are newly introducing. We ended up being able to expand our brewery. One of our neighbors moved out of our building complex, so you know we cut a hole in concrete and fixed it for another portion. So that kind of helped us be able to have a space for ticketed events like comedy shows. And I'm glad, sorry, I'm terrible with names, but there's another gal that had mentioned like a drag or burlesque show. So I'm in the process of talking with somebody about doing that here. I know one kind of like one-off or oddball event that has actually picked up is Pickle Fest. Didn't realize, so I'm in Minnesota, central Minnesota. I didn't realize how many pickle lovers there are. Obviously, you know, we have our dill pickle cream ale, you know, pickle pizza, but then we had an ice cream food truck come out, and they had pickle ice cream, and it actually was pretty good. So
Did it have
that
chunks
was
of pickles in it?
well, not really. No, it was like a still a nice creamy ice cream consistency. I think the chunks would have thrown me off. Like I appreciate pickles. I just never craved them. But I mean it was a fun event for all ages, you know. It's kind of cool.
That's awesome. Thanks, Nikki. Actually, you can put that pickle ice cream in your cooler with those ice cream
Yeah.
sandwiches. Yeah.
Cream pickle sandwiches.
She's not sure. All right, so group 4, Mason. I heard some very cool ideas from you guys. What'd you take away from that, Mason?
We talked a lot about what worked and what doesn't work in our area, where we agreed upon utilizing small businesses that want to get out there for plant building nights and paint nights has been working for us. A part of that low effort, high impact scale when someone can just come in and run the event and you don't have to be there to monitor too much. We talked about having success doing scavenger hunts in our tap rooms. Michelle was using tiny leprechaun hats for St. Patrick's Day and hit about 20 and people just went nuts for that. And we did a similar thing for Shark Week. We hid sharks all over the tap room and it was fun just having people just wander around aimlessly with their drinks. And I, took in some, it sounds like she's got an interesting event coming up called Zen Tangle. And I just Googled that. Oh, sorry. I'll let you see my face when I talk. That looks exciting. I'm going to probably have a go at that. And things that have worked for us and something that you talked about was, weird events. We had success doing Festivus, the Seinfeld holiday, and we just had a proper, poll where you could air your grievances. And we had retro wrestling, Nintendo gaming for people that wanted to show some feats of strength. And people really enjoyed it. Was mentioned in a chat, but we did a Twin Peaks day recently. Twin Peaks is big here, but we had Twin Peaks playing all over the tap room on projectors. And then we had pie from a pie vendor being offered, and a coffee vendor came in and offered stuff. And it's great. Those things where like you can put on a TV show or a movie that people are into that can capture them in your tap room for hours at a time. It really big for the numbers on that day. But yeah, it's about all I took from it.
That's awesome. Thanks, Mason.
Guys.
Yeah, I heard a couple from, I think Michelle had to drop off, but Michelle and Susan's in the chat about, so these aren't events per se, but how do you get people to come back in? So the red envelope So maybe that's
Yeah.
around the holidays, you give them an envelope and you can't open it now, but on your next visit, you open it. And it can be a prize, it could be a free appetizer, whatever within your regulations. That was really cool. And I think Susan put a new twist on it where it was an Easter egg. So you have a basket, and upon checkout, you take an Easter egg. You can't open it now, but when you come back, and I think one or both of them was saying like people kind of lose their minds over getting like these cool things. So for me, that just checks so many boxes. Like, how do you get somebody to come back, be excited about it, and then generate that excitement that extends beyond just the person that's coming in? So those are kind of neat. And I like that, the Shark Week. I think that's just so cool. So maybe Mason, just real quick on the shark, like if they find the shark, what do they get?
Yeah, we had a variety of prizes. Usually a gift card is an easy one to hand off, but we were giving out T-shirts. We have a bunch of pint glasses with several designs on it that we were giving out. We have a heavy merchandise department, and so we have a lot that just sit in the back, and we just flag it as like, you know what, next time we have an event, let's try to get rid of some of these. We have a lot of opportunities to get rid of some back stock.
Love it.
People,
Awesome. Thanks,
people love it.
Mason.
You don't have to do much. If you give them just a pint glass you're trying to get rid of in the back, they're just simply thrilled. It's fun to see.
Yeah, that's cool.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate everybody being here today. We know as taproom managers and owners, your lives are busy. So thanks for the hour. We want to wind down right now. Sorry if we didn't get a chance to call on everybody. We will be doing more of these on different topics to get you all engaged with other taproom owners and managers from across the country. So we hope you found a lot of value today. But looking back on today's session, we've heard a lot of really cool ideas. But what events and ideas for today fit best for your tap room? Because an event may be cool, but it might not be the right fit for your space. So really think about what event ideas best fit in your tap room. And also, we did the impact effort access. How can you better involve your team in event planning and event operation and kind of getting them to be more successful? So what can you do, whether it's bringing them together to brainstorm, whether it's having them take lead on events, whether them having more engaged roles in the actual event itself? What can you do to bring them to the table? Then also, what's one key success factor you learned today? A lot of you shared what worked, what didn't work. Why didn't these things work? Why did they work? What's that secret sauce? And it's going to be different from all of you. But really, if it comes down to one thing for today, Carrie and I hope you have that one idea that you want to take back to your tap room and try. So everybody, you might be on a computer, you might have pen and paper next to you. Type or write that one idea down right now. We're going to hold you accountable for this when we see you in the next Taproom Success Mastermind. Mason, I'm going to ask you, did you actually do it? Ashley, I'm going to do the same for you. Stephen as well. So write down, yeah. Oh, I should have made you show us. That would have been great. Thanks, Mason, for doing that. I don't know what it said. So Mason, type in the chat what it said. But, make sure you're writing this idea and not just forgetting it, leaving it on your desk, but actually taking it back to the appropriate people on your team and making it happen. And if anybody has any questions, Carrie and I love talking taproom all day long. You can shoot me an email at andrew@secrethopper.com. You can shoot one to Carrie at Beer Business Finance. And once again, as a thank you for spending time with us today and sharing all these great ideas, there's 1 month 100% free at the Taproom Success membership. You get to connect with other taproom managers and owners. We appreciate all of you. If you have anything else in your mind, shoot us an email. But that's what we came here to do today. We hope you enjoyed it just as much as Carrie and I did.
It was
Cheers,
fun.
everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.